Now, after we are done with nutrient management, in the crop production management, the second point is that of irrigation. Now, you see you have provided the plant with nutrients because water is a sense of life for everything. Plants also need fresh water that is present in the soil. They have to take it up, and in the cases where the water is not present in the soil in the abundant quantities as required by the plants, we have to provide with irrigation. As you can see over here, the field is being provided with enough sprinklers, water is being thrown to the plants so that they take up the water and perform their life activities. Now, there are various methods of doing irrigation. Now, what are the various methods of doing irrigation? See, first of all, the best method of doing irrigation is if the god of rain is happy on farmers. Okay. So, the rain god is going to be the best irrigation facility for all the farms. So, best way is that rain comes. Any form of precipitation is going to be helpful, provided it does not destroy the crop all over. If it is a hailstorm or sleet that comes and destroys. Irrigation, if it is to be carried out, it will be carried out in the form of wells. See, these are the modern methods, not exactly modern, conventional methods rather I would say. Since times immemorial, people have been using these methods in order to water their crop fields so that their crop production increases. Second one is canal system. Third one happens to be river lift system. And the fourth one is tanks. Okay. Now, this is what we have. Now, the wells, as you must be knowing, there are two types of wells. One is dug well that you find in villages, and the other one is this one. This is submersible well basically. It goes deep down, it draws all the water from the soil, aquifers are getting dry because of thanks to these wells only. And dug wells, these take the water from the groundwater table, and the water is used for irrigation. As you can see over here, it starts from here, the water is being drawn by a motor, and this is taking out so much of water, fresh water, as you can see. And here you can see a canal that is going, not a canal, it is a small channel through which the water is flowing, and it would be irrigating all the fields nearby. Next is the example of canal system. Now, this is a very small canal that is present over here, but otherwise we have huge canals for irrigation purpose. Those who stay in the northern plains of the country, they must be knowing that there is extensive irrigation system provided by the canals, which are cut from various rivers, and they go to different areas and they irrigate the fields. Then we have the example of river lift system. Now, supposedly there are areas which are at some height and the river is flowing away from there. So, we have check dam that is being drawn and built, and from there the water is being lifted and sent to the suitable areas for irrigation. And lastly, in the catchment areas we have these well arrangements, where usually these are the catchment areas where the well is being filled by the running water, and then that water is used for irrigation. So, this is what we have in the case of irrigation. Now, you see, till now we have been done with choosing what type of crop we want. Secondly, we are done with, once the crop has been chosen, we provide the nutrients. Now, we have provided the water as well. Now, what is next lies, no, I just missed it. We have to talk about modern methods of irrigation as well. We have the sprinkler method. You won't find these sprinklers in traditional farm practices, but yeah, this is taking pace over at lot many places. And there is example of drip irrigation. You might have heard, if you are frequently listening to the news, that Indian government provides subsidies to the people who do this type of irrigation, that is drip irrigation. Now, why would government promote such kind of irrigation? As you can see, only the specific area where the plant is growing, that much water is being used. So, you are in a way saving the water resource as well, and your approach is quite particular. Okay, you are quite at the point, bullseye you are hitting. You are not just draining the entire area. Wherever the plant is needing the water, the drip irrigation system has small tubes and pipelines which make the water reach at that particular point. So these are the modern methods of irrigation. They require they require some sort of capital investment in the beginning, but they are very useful in longer run. Now we had talked about food, we have talked about water which the plant needs, and now we are going to talk about what about the conditions where we have to restore soil's fertility, we have to avoid the weeds. See, in a field when you are growing a crop, you are in an ecosystem. There are going to be insects, there are going to be weeds, small plants which are going to take up the nutrients which your crop was supposed to take, and now you have to avoid them. So we have another method, that is cropping pattern. Now in the crop production management, we had talked about nutrient management, we had talked about irrigation. Now we are going to talk about the cropping patterns. Now in the cropping patterns, we have the example of intercropping. Now see, what is intercropping? It is growing 2 or more crops simultaneously in the same field in a definite pattern. Why it is done? Because we have to avoid pests and we have to avoid weeds. We would grow a specific plant apart from the crop in the cropping pattern, so that the condition of growing pests and other plants which are unnecessary, that could be avoided. Now see, the crops are selected on the basis of different need of nutrients. Now you may say that if one weed comes and grows in that particular soil, it is going to take up the nutrient of our desired plant. What about the other plant that comes? That is also going to take up the nutrient. So here the idea lies that the crop that you are using for intercropping, the nutrient requirement for both would be different. So your desired crop will not go devoid of nutrients. The soil would be rich in those nutrients which the desired plant needs, because the crop that you have introduced for intercropping, it has different nutrient requirements. Now this is the point that is to be remembered. Now a few rows of one crop alternate with few rows of second crop. As you can see over here, there is sunflower, then there is maize, then there is sunflower, then there is maize, and in between you are having, I guess, potatoes or cowpeas. These are cowpeas basically. So you have the example of soya bean is grown along with maize, intercropped with maize. Finger millet is intercropped with cowpea. This is the example of intercropping. Now because of this, best method of utilizing the nutrients is taking place. Okay, it is in the scenario that the best way of utilizing all the nutrients present in the soil so that they don't get wasted, we are doing that by this intercropping mechanism. Now due to this, there is maximum utilization of nutrients applied, and as I told you, it prevents pests and diseases from spreading to all the plants. Okay, one crop will not fail. Okay, if we have a particular pest that infests one crop, at least rest of the field will have the remaining crops which will not fail. So the farmer is not going to hold his head and sit that entire crop is gone into the hands of the pests and weeds. At least he would have half of the field which would not be infested by the pests. So this is important, intercropping and cropping patterns. Now when we we're done with cropping patterns, we have the full grown plants. When it is the time to harvest the outcome, there is a probability, not probability, there is a possibility that some living organism comes and takes what you have done, takes what the farmer has done. So we have pest management as well, pest and weed management as we call it. What you see over here, that corn on the cob is totally destroyed by the fungal infestation. Now there are many microbes, as I told you, field is an ecosystem. So what might happen, the fungi, the bacteria, the viruses, all the pests, they can come and infest your crop. So for that, see, this is another example. What you see, the leaf has been totally destroyed by these caterpillars. So what we have to do is that we have to talk about crop protection management. We were talking about crop production management. We had talked about pest management now. Now this pest management comes under crop protection management. Once the crop has been created, once you have gone through all stages, of the development of the crop. The crop has to be protected from various sources which can hamper its growth, and that involves the protection of crops from various kinds of weeds. Now what are weeds? Weeds are unwanted plants which can take the nutrients from the soil and make your plant not as good for the yield. There are insect pests which are present, and there are certainly diseases which are to be taken care of so that the plant is not gone completely. Now this is all we have in the case of crop yield improvement, and we are going to summarize it with this simple flow chart. What are the stages of farming practices? First, you choose the seeds for planting, that is often seen by crop variety improvement, which includes hybridization. This includes genetic manipulation. Once the crop has been selected, the seeds have been selected, there is nurturing of crop that takes place. How does that nurturing take place? It is taken care of by the crop production improvement step, and that is by nutrient management or mineral nutrition of the plants, which includes manure and fertilizers. Then we have organic farming, manures of course. Then we have irrigation that is to be done, and then we have intercropping. This is all included in crop production improvement. Lastly, we have protection of the growing crops and harvested crops from the loss, which includes insects and pest control. This includes disease control. There are many diseases like smuts and rusts which come and destroy the crop, and their yield is automatically declined. Then we have weed control, and once all these things, all the protections and productions have taken place, it is to be made sure that whatever crop you have got as an outcome, there is proper storage of that. Okay, so we have storage of grains, which is very important. When the storage is to be done, the storage aspect is important because the storage is often done in the food markets, basically grain markets and rest of the areas. Over there it has to be taken care that we are making our crop immune from both the biotic and abiotic stresses. Now we had abiotic and biotic stresses when the plant was growing. Now once we have the grains in our hand, we have to take care that rodents and rats, they don't come and destroy the yield that you have had, and they are stored properly. They are stored in such a way that the biotic conditions like rodents don't come and destroy it. Also the abiotic conditions like moisture and heat should also not be able to destroy what you have produced as a result of these farming practices. So we need good storage facilities for our crops as well. So this was all about the improvement in crop production. Next we are going to deal with animal husbandry.